Welcome to our FIAM webinar. It stands for Frontline Identity and Access Management. Your presenters today are going to be Todd Baggett and Kevin Connolly. Todd's the CEO of Redline Solutions, and Kevin is a Senior Partnership Manager at 42Gears. All right, Todd, handing it off to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I know you can all see the screen there. So just a quick background on Redline Solutions. I started the company back in 1997. We're out in California and have spent the last 29 years putting in rugged mobile devices, barcode systems, RFID, primarily in manufacturing and warehousing environments. We do have software that is specifically for the produce supply chain and traceability, and we work with a number of ERP and warehouse management implementation companies. We work with all sizes of companies, a number of Fortune 500s, all the way to startup companies that are here in Silicon Valley and other areas. So with that, to go ahead and kick us off, and I'd like to turn it over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate the introduction. First things first, I just want to thank everybody for attending, learning a little bit more about FIAM. And first off, I'd like to start talking about just 42Gears, who we are, what we do. 42Gears was founded in 2009 by Onkar Singh and Prakash Gupta, with the main aim really of delivering some cutting edge unified endpoint management solutions, mainly to help businesses manage their distributed device fleet while ensuring data, device, and network security. We find a lot of inspiration in just the pursuit of one main goal, and that's really just being at the forefront of innovation of enterprise mobility solutions. And along the way, we've pioneered cloud solutions for enterprise mobility. We've gained some recognition for our unified endpoint management technology, and we're all committed to driving innovations continuously in the enterprise mobility space. So most companies are striving to become digitally transformed. Business applications are moving to the cloud, and day-to-day IT operations are becoming more and more mobile-oriented. And this is all happening using a much more diversified range of devices as well. So employees are no longer really looking to use just company-provided desktops, because a lot of them work on the go with corporate-owned or personally enabled laptops, mobile devices, and iPads. Some even have BYOD, or bring your own devices, all of which need to be managed in one way or another. And this is really the IT admin's job. And it gets much easier and much more efficient using a UEM solution. SureMDM resolves most of the 5 W's, as we like to call them, the kind of who, what, where, how, and why, and which. Who is going to be able to access these endpoints? We need to be able to define access privileges based on your user type. What devices are being used in this? Are these local? Are they remote offices? Are they roaming devices? We need to figure out when the management policies need to be applied, where the management devices are located, aka just device tracking, and then finally, which applications need to be managed and the security configurations around these applications. So, going to cover all of these. Number one, 42Gears is a framework that allows an enterprise to manage your not so smart devices by introducing smart logic at the host machine level. And this performs the role of a proxy for a lot of these endpoints. These are like your IoT devices that may not have connections directly to SureMDM, but they're able to connect to devices that can connect. This TMT framework performs the role of a proxy so that the endpoints and allows businesses to manage connected devices and their accessory and peripherals through a central console. So TMT integrates any things in your organization, and this is from printers and peripherals to IoT devices. And TMT provides a single central console management through SureMDM. The Things connector acts as a bridge to monitor and manage peripherals through the IoT gateway. Now, some IoT devices don't have an underlying operating system, and these devices have other ways to connect to host machines. We do this through USB, through Bluetooth, or through Wi-Fi. So a bit more about frontline identity access and management now. We're going to be covering mainly 5 things. We're going to be talking about who are your frontline workers, some of the challenges that they're facing, why MDM alone isn't enough to actually address all of these challenges, and then we're going to be talking about what is FIAM and the 3 pillars of FIAM. So starting off with the most basic, are your frontline workers. Who are they? Your frontline workers are employees that operate in a fast-paced operational environments, usually outside of traditional office settings. Unlike a lot of your corporate staff who typically work from assigned desks with dedicated devices, these frontline workers are operating in dynamic and high mobility devices. They're usually using shared or kiosk-based devices, and they depend on this real-time mobile access to applications and data, usually working in shifts and changing roles and responsibilities. They're very modular, very dynamic. These workers are directly involved in delivering products and services to customers or supporting essential operations. Some of these examples could be your logistics and your warehouse staff, or healthcare nurses and technicians. Maybe it's retail store associates. In a lot of different organizations, frontline workers make up the majority of the workforce, yet historically, they have the least structured identity and access controls. And this is why a tailored identity solution are critical for this segment. Frontline environments face unique and high impact challenges. These directly affect revenue, security, and operational continuity. We're going to be covering some of these. So first things first, device downtime and revenue loss. If any of these shared devices that they constantly use malfunction or users are locked out, your work is going to stop immediately. In retail, in healthcare, or even logistics, minutes of downtime can result in lost sales, delayed care, or missed service level agreements. The increase in cyber attacks as well. These frontline workers are usually targeted because of weaker authentication controls that we just talked about, some shared accounts, or maybe even limited monitoring. A lot of these gaps create attractive entry points for attackers. Workforce distractions as well. If you have unrestricted access to games or social media, or even things that are logistical, like complex login processes or password resets, these can distract employees from their primary responsibilities, which are serving customers, patients, or just maintaining operations. Speaking of passwords, shared credentials are very common in these shift-based environments, and this eliminates accountability. It makes auditing almost impossible sometimes. And when it comes to these regulatory compliance pressures, a lot of industries such as healthcare and retail and manufacturing, they have very strict regulatory standards, because improper access control can lead to a lot of compliance violations, and compliance violations lead to costly penalties. Data leakage. Without proper identity governance, your sensitive data can be accidentally, or in some cases, intentionally exposed. And this includes customer information, operational data, or intellectual property. And then finally, identity blind spots. A lot of organizations lack visibility into who has access to what systems. And this is especially true across SaaS, mobile apps, and operational technologies. These blind spots increase risk and reduce response speeds during incidents. These challenges highlight why traditional approaches just aren't enough, and why a frontline focused identity strategy is really essential. So this is why MDM alone is no longer enough. A lot of organizations rely heavily on only mobile device management or MDM solutions to secure frontline environments. However, traditional MDM solutions were designed to manage devices, but not identities. So MDM solves device level problems only. MDM knows the device. MDM knows the configuration, the compliance status, the installed applications, but it doesn't really know the people using that device. And in frontline environments where devices are shared, identities become far more important than device ownership. When we're talking about shared devices and high workforce, can really create gaps in security. So with shift-based work and frequent staffing changes, access needs to change very dynamically. MDM can't automatically adjust permissions based on role or shift or employment status. And because of that, this creates security exposure and sometimes orphaned access. So these traditional security systems don't really fit the frontline realities. A lot of frontline workers wear gloves, or they work under time pressure, or they operate in very physically demanding environments, think warehouses. Having complex passwords, having token-based authentication, or VPN logins will usually slow them down and create workarounds. It's just not conducive to the realities of their day-to-day. Additionally, legacy VPNs, these grant broad access. So traditional VPNs typically provide network level access, often granting broader access than necessary in many cases. This really comes into contradiction with the principle of least privilege, and it increases your lateral movement risk in the event of any compromise. No centralized identity control or context-aware policies. MDM really lacks identity-driven, and context-aware policies. So it doesn't really evaluate who the user is or what role they hold or their risk level, even their location or the device posture. And because of this, these modern security, it requires a zero trust principle. It requires access that is based on identity and context instead of just your device's compliance. And when you have tool sprawl, this can really increase your IT fatigue and especially your costs. Because when organizations layer multiple of these disconnected solutions all on top of each other in one big sandwich, so for example, your MDM, maybe you have a VPN and an MFA and a PAM. All of these without a unified identity strategy, IT teams are going to face higher operational overhead. They're going to face increased maintenance and complexity, and they're probably going to have much slower incident response times. And this is all of these together are why organizations are shifting from device-centric security to identity-centric security. And this is especially true for frontline environments. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the three main problems. So at a high level, frontline environments are typically struggling with three major challenges. And while they may appear pretty separate, they're very deeply connected and they require a unified solution. So the first one is unmanaged devices. Many frontline workers are going to be using shared kiosks. They're going to be using bring your own device mobile phones or contractor owned devices. All of these devices may not be fully managed by IT, and that creates visibility and security gaps. Without identity-based controls, organizations either block access entirely or accept elevated risk. And these solutions, the solution is not just device management, it's secure identity-based access. The second problem is access overkill. A lot of times in many environments, users are granted more access than they're actually needed. This happens because roles can be poorly defined, because legacy VPNs grant full network access, or because permissions are rarely reviewed by IT admins. If you have over-provisioned access, this increases your insider threat risk, this increases your lateral movement during cyber attacks, and especially your compliance violations. Finally, identity blindness. Organizations are often lacking clear answers to basic questions. Questions like who has access to what? Why do they have access to it? Is it still appropriate for this employee to have access to this? And when was it last reviewed? Without any centralized visibility, security teams are operating with fairly large blind spots. And this is especially true across SaaS apps, cloud systems, and operational platforms. So next, we're going to look at how a modern FIAM approaches these problems and addresses them. To address these frontline challenges, we're introducing Frontline Identity, Access, and Management, or FIAM. FIAM is an all-in-one unified platform designed specifically for frontline environments. Instead of managing devices, access, authentication, and governance separately, FIAM brings everything together in a single identity-centric framework. In the next slides, we're going to talk a little bit more about the three main pillars of FIAM in greater detail. The first pillar of this is device trust. Before granting access to enterprise systems, we have to ensure that the device itself is secure, compliant, and trustworthy. And this is where SureMDM plays a critical role. So SureMDM is a comprehensive device management solution that ensures that every device in your frontline fleet meets the security and compliance standards before access is even allowed. With SureMDM, you're able to, one, configure consistent security compliance across your fleet. This is enforcing standardized policies across all of your devices, ensuring that encryption, password policies, and security settings are uniformly applied. You can also lock down devices. This includes apps and websites. So with this, you're able to restrict devices to only approved applications and websites only. And this is going to be reducing your distractions. This is going to be preventing misuse, and it's going to be limiting your exposure to malicious content. You're also able to update the operating system and have access to patch management. This will allow you to automatically deploy operating system updates and security patches. This is going to keep your devices updated, and it's going to reduce your vulnerabilities and protect against known exploits. This is another feature that everybody really loves, is remote control and location tracking, even indoors. A lot of IT teams can remotely control devices to reduce downtime. And with location tracking, including indoor location tracking when it's supported on specific devices, this can help you recover lost devices and monitor your operational assets. And then finally, you have an app-based mobile threat defense. What this does is detects malicious applications, abnormal behavior, or maybe compromised devices. And the threat detection at the device level is going to add an additional layer of security before identity-based access is even granted in the first place. So this is our first pillar. Moving on to the second, this is user identity. While device trust is going to ensure that the devices are secure, identity ensures that the right person is accessing the right resources at the right time. And this is powered by SureIDP, which is a zero trust identity and access management solution that's been built for modern and frontline environments. So SureIDP shifts security from perimeter-based to identity-centric, meaning that access decisions are based on who the user is, as well as their role and the device posture and contextual risk. A lot of conditions there. With SureIDP, you're able to manage your user and device access and make sure you can control their access to various resources. So you can control your access to cloud applications or internal web apps or operational platforms. And access is centrally managed and policy driven. So eliminate password fatigue with passwordless authentication. So frontline workers are often struggling with complex passwords. And this is especially true in shift-based or environments where people are wearing gloves, because passwordless authentication is going to be able to improve your user experience. It's going to reduce your help desk tickets and minimize phishing risk as well. Number 3 is preventing identity-based attacks. Most of modern cybersecurity breaches are going to be targeting identities instead of actual specific devices. And with SureIDP, you make sure that you're protecting against phishing, credential stuffing, account takeover attempts, and even insider misuse in some cases. And this is all by enforcing strong authentication and adaptive risk evaluation. So identity is becoming a really strong security boundary with SureIDP. You can also configure application authentication and single sign-on. So single sign-on, extremely powerful tool. I'm sure we all know it. You can have your users log in once and securely across all of your approved applications. And this is going to help you speed up your workflows, reduce your login friction, and improve productivity. And then finally, we can grant context-aware conditional access. So access decisions are based on multiple factors. They include your user role, your device compliance status, your location, the time of access, and risk signals. So if something looks suspicious, access can be restricted or require additional verification. Finally, we're getting to the third and final pillar of FIAM, which is secure access. Once we establish device trust and we verify their user identity, the next step is ensuring secure, controlled connectivity to enterprise resources. And this is powered by Sure Access. This is a zero trust network access, or ZTNA, solution designed to replace legacy VPN models. So unlike traditional VPNs that grant broad network access, Sure Access provides application level access only, based on identity and with context. With Sure Access, you're able to restrict access to specific apps, IPs, and domains. So users are only granted the access to the exact applications or services that they need and nothing more. This enforces least privilege access and reduces lateral movement risk. You can also provide real-time context-aware access. These access decisions are dynamically evaluated and based on user identity, device compliance, location, and time. If risk increases, access can be stepped up, limited, or completely blocked. You can also encrypt traffic to sensitive applications. So all communication between users and enterprise apps is encrypted. And this ensures that secure data transmission, especially important for remote or distributed frontline teams, is ensured. We're also preventing network-based attacks. Because applications aren't exposed directly to public internet and network access is never broadly granted, attack surface is significantly reduced. So this is going to help protect you against lateral movement, port scanning, and unauthorized internal access. Finally, we're able to scale to handle increased device traffic. So frontline environments can really scale quickly. If you have seasonal workers, or if you have new locations or expanded operations, Sure Access is designed to scale efficiently without compromising either performance nor security. So why would a CIO need FIAM? It's not just a security upgrade. It's a strategic enabler for digital transformation, operational resilience, and risk reduction. So user identity is always tied to device posture. FIAM connects who the user is with the security state of the device that they're using. And access decisions are based on verified identity and role permissions, device compliance status, and real-time risk signals. This alignment strengthens zero trust enforcement and ensures that secure access is available without slowing down frontline operations. We also have full visibility and auditability too. CIOs are able to gain centralized visibility into who accessed the application, on what device, from what location, at what time. And this increased level of traceability is going to improve your incident response, your forensic investigations, your compliance reporting, and just your overall executive oversight. It removes identity blind spots across your frontline operations. It also eliminates shared credential risks. Shared passwords are actually one of the biggest risk factors in frontline environments. And FIAM replaces shared accounts with individual user identities and strong role-based access controls. This is going to ensure accountability and dramatically reduce insider and external threat exposure. And it's also a natively integrated solution. It's not bolted together. A lot of organizations are relying on increasingly disconnected tools that are Frankensteined and stitched together over time, while FIAM is designed to be a unified, natively integrated platform. This means that you have lower overall operational complexity, reduced licensing overlap, simplified management, faster deployment, and total lower cost of ownership. So for CIOs, this is translating into a stronger security posture with just overall greater operational efficiency. So why SureMDM? I'll give you some reasons. SureMDM is making sure that you maximize your ROI. According to our ROI calculator, for 100 devices, we maximize the ROI by 25 times in the first year. We can boost productivity with our kiosk lockdown tools, and we include these kiosk lockdown tools as part of our standard SureMDM license. Using these, you can block all unnecessary applications and your websites to boost productivity. We have multi-admin remote control, and we've had this feature for over 10 years. Admins are able to remote control, and it lets multiple admins simultaneously collaborate in real time to run diagnostics on devices that are causing problems. We also have an AI-powered chatbot. This is a new feature. The functionality is unique to 42Gears, and it's called Deep Thought. Deep Thought makes it easier for IT admins to quickly fetch device-related data. And on top of this, we also have really a wide swath of fencing capabilities as well. So using SureMDM, you're able to create periodical boundaries, or fencing, as we call it, for mobile devices to behave or function in a specific way. So we're the only UEM provider that provides up to 3 types of fencing. This is geo-fencing, time fencing, and network fencing in all of our pricing plans. It's not an additional add-on. Our real-time support, we offer 24/7 real-time tech support on the website and console. And Gartner reviews actually say that we have the best support compared to other competitors. And then finally, product customization. We offer features and enhancements based on customer requirements at no additional cost. So if you have a feature that you're looking for, we are more than happy to hear you out and collaborate and add this to our console, because it's a win-win for us. You get a problem solved, and then we have an overall better product. So some examples of supported devices that we have here. A lot of IT admins are deploying strategies that allow enterprises to support a large and mobile workforce. And they do this by combining flexibility with IT control. And we're more than happy to be easy to work with in that capacity. 42Gears offers 4 types of mobility strategies to empower enterprises to manage devices while also securing data. So we have CYOD, or choose your own device, and this allows employees to choose their own hardware from a list of pre-approved IT devices that are provided by the company. We have COPE, which is company-owned personally enabled devices. This allows employees to select company-owned devices from an approved list and then use their own personal apps on the devices. There's just company-owned devices, which is business-owned devices that are optimized and deployed usually for single dedicated purposes. So think like kiosks, things like that, or hard handheld scanners. And then finally, we have BYOD, or bring your own device. And this provides easy access to approved applications within the encrypted work container on employee-owned devices. So it really separates work and personal on a single device. We have another list of certifications, some important certifications that we've earned in the cybersecurity domain. Besides the coveted ISO 27001 certification, we were also proud to declare that we are 100% GDPR compliant for our European customer base. as well as having HIPAA compliance for healthcare. And then finally, we're Android Enterprise recommended EMM partner. So we have expertise in multiple Android enterprise management sets. We have proven advanced security and management features, consistent deployment with simplified admin controls, and we've also got the best practice documentation and setup guides on our websites. We're constantly staying current with the latest Android features and trainings. Very modern, very dynamic company. That is about it for me. I'd like to thank everybody for their time. I appreciate being able to tell a little bit more about FIAM to everybody. And if you have any questions whatsoever, or you'd like to learn a little bit more, feel free to check out the link provided here for Redline Solutions partner page for 42Gears, or contact them at info@redlinesolutions.com. With that being said, I'd like to turn it back over to Todd for the Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kevin. Great job. At this point, if you have any questions, there's actually a chat box, and also right next to it at the top of your screen there will be a question mark that you can put questions into. Tyler, has anybody entered any questions during the webinar?
I do see a question, and it says, you've said lateral movement a few times. Will you define it and explain why it is a risk?
When you have lateral movement in cybersecurity situations, it's just being able to jump from one device to another, or access management's being compromised. Usually it can fall like a row of dominoes. So this severely limits that, because each employee in FIAM will have their own individual set of login credentials. Instead of just having an entire device be compromised, it's just a single user, and you can usually quarantine that much easier. So being able to limit the lateral device movement is much more simple with FIAM.
Got it. Thanks, Kevin. I actually see another FIAM question for you here, and this one's more about the pricing model. It says, your identity and access and Sure MDM all on one platform. Is this going to be a single login sold as one bundle? Are they going to be priced per device or per user? There just seems like they're trying to get the logistics figured out a bit here.
Definitely, yeah. So both Sure Access and Sure IDP are accessed through the main Sure MDM console. So Sure MDM serves as the main bedrock that these new tools sit on. So Sure Access and Sure IDP are two add-ons that you can do in specific tiers of Sure MDM. When it comes to the pricing of these, Sure MDM and Sure Access are priced by device. So each device has an associated license, and that's just because managing a device, obviously you're just gonna have one license for that, and then managing the access that device has to your network is also associated with the device. However, Sure IDP is priced per user because each user has their own set of credentials. Sure MDM and Sure Access are priced by device. Sure IDP is priced per user.
Got it. Thank you, Kevin. Todd, I'm actually going to direct this one next to you. It's about Redline. It says, Redline originally provided us with Avanti, Wavelink, Avalanche for managing our mobile devices, and that ended last year, but we're still using it. What's the migration path if we wanted to move on to 42Gears?
Yeah, that's a great question. And they are correct that support for the Avalanche product ended in October of last year. There's actually a migration strategy within 42Gears, and that would be, we would do a proof of concept with you. And in that proof of concept, we'll actually get the devices loaded up with Sure MDM or the other applications. You can test those out. And then if you're ready to move forward with that, then you purchase those licenses. There is a promotion that's been going on for those types of things where you actually get 15 months worth of subscription for the price of 12.
Well, great. I see a question I'm going to direct to Kevin here, because it says, what do you mean by zero trust network access?
Okay, zero trust network access technically it's an old concept. I think it's about 20 years old, but it's only become standardized in the past maybe 5 or 6 years. But what a zero trust network access is, it's a modern cybersecurity model that's based on the principle of never trusting, but always verifying. And this kind of assumes that threats are both existing inside and outside of the network. And instead of trusting users based on their location or things like that, like being, oh, they're inside the office or they're inside warehouse 1, this is continuously authenticating every device and every user and every application. And it's making sure that you only have the minimum access that you need granted in your network. For example, if you're a delivery driver, you're not going to have access on your device to the CRM that the salespeople are using, or the HR software that the HR department's using. You're only going to have access to your specific delivery application on that device.
Got it. Thank you, Kevin. I see a couple more here. I'm going to try to get through them real quick. For Todd, I see one that says, do the rugged mobile devices that you sell from Zebra have cameras for user ID verification?
Good point. On the ID side of things, yes, there is a camera. In fact, most of the devices now have cameras, at least front facing, and some of them even back facing. And where that would be used in the identity side is you might have a barcode that you scan to log in, and then on the identity side, it's going to want to see your face. And so you can actually hold that camera up to your face with the device, look into it, just like you would on a cell phone to unlock it.
Great. Just a couple more here. I see, Kevin, this one I'm going to send your way. What are the requirements to support my Zebra printer on 42Gears? What do they have to do to get set up with those benefits for Zebra devices?
It's fairly simple. We have a custom built connector with Zebra. We're great partners with a lot of OEMs. And the only two main prerequisites are that you need to have things management enabled in SureMDM. It's just a box you check. And then the Android device that is being paired with the Zebra printer, you need to pair an Android device to the Zebra printer in order for it to work. Because I was speaking about the proxies earlier when we were talking about our IoT management, because a lot of these less than smart devices don't exactly have other routes to connect to SureMDM besides they only have access to things like USB or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. They're going to need a proxy device. So if you just get any sort of Android device, phone, tablet, handheld, what have you, you're able to use that as a proxy in order to connect it wirelessly to SureMDM.
Great. I see one here that says, we have employees who use our company email and messaging applications. In this case, it seems like they're using Outlook. Is there a way to lock down or remove their access to these applications through your software, or do they have to stick with going to their IT team for this?
Yeah, definitely. So it's the former. With Sherlock, it's a baked-in application in SureMDM on every one of our pricing tiers, so even the standard one. You're able to manually whitelist or blacklist specific applications, and this includes like web apps, specific URLs or domains. And we can set up our fencing capabilities that I mentioned before to only have people be able to access specific apps or domains periodically. So if you want somebody to have access to email between 9 and 5, or if while they're only on site in a specific locality, or if you're specifically connected to an SSID that would grant you access. So there's a lot of conditions that you can set up, but short answer, yes, you can restrict every app, website, domain, everything.
Thank you, Kevin. That sounds pretty useful. I see one last question here. It says, is there a way to test and validate all this on my own network? You've said a lot of stuff sounds great, but are they able to do it on their own side of things?
Yeah, certainly. We'd be more than happy to, we offer a POC solution. And if you guys just want to, you can contact Redline, and then we'd be more than happy to get an engineer set up to go over enrollments, provisioning, and just all the steps that you need to take in order to get your devices set up with SureMDM and FIAM.
Good. And Tyler, I had one more thing I wanted to add, and that is that one of the areas that we're seeing a big demand for 42Gears, specifically the SureMDM, is that with the new Android devices, they frequently have operating system updates, usually about every 8 months or so. And if you have a large set of devices, that can be a time-consuming process, roughly 10 or 15 minutes per device to cradle it and do that update. With SureMDM, you can actually schedule the update of your OS, the update of your application, et cetera, and have that all pushed out over the air, as opposed to having to have devices at a site with a cradle and do that manually. So with that, I think that wraps us up for today. Thanks for joining us, Kevin. That was a great presentation. Thank you, Tyler, for being our MC. And we look forward to hearing from any of you who have questions about the content today or want to learn more about how you can get started on a POC.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.